But I'll take the moment to show you the Bollinger ship-gen stage. This is like the main algorithm, and I actually got inspired to do this from this article. So how they generate the ships. They take like this little grid, 6 by 12, and they have these like rules. So these white cells are always empty. The outside is always, the outermost cell is always the skin, outermost possible. Then there's a cockpit area somewhere inside, and there's always solid area. And this body could be either empty to make some like the inside is carved out, or it could be full or something. And this is the result, what they produce with this algorithm. And there's like the colored result. But these are very small, and in my case I took the idea of this algorithm and scaled it up heavily, and I modified like the empty solid body cockpit and those outermost things. I added more types, I added some more. Then what I did, I actually took, there's this tool called Desmos, where you can come up with, I don't know, any mathematical formula. Let me log in. Let me try to log in. I think I have something saved here. I need to open my password manager. Oh shit, I don't have Desmos saved password manager, that sucks. Maybe log in with Google? Oh, that did work, alright. But do I have any? Oh yeah, I do have a lot of graphs saved. But looks like all of them are from Bloody Rally Show. But the point is that yeah, you can create a mathematical formula which produces some weird shape, and that's what I did for Stardeus. I basically experimented with math. Like, yeah, let's take a look at this one. So you can tweak these things to change their shape, right? You can add more variables here, for example, x, no. Let's see, we could do times a. Or maybe times oh, that's exactly the same. Maybe we could do like divided by b, okay? So that we have b, when we divide you can see that the shape is changing, right? So you can then say, okay, I will be generating the ship with a curve like that. And you can of course make it more funky and so on, and then take a range, let's see, from -10 to 10. And then you can actually do that by limiting it somehow. I don't remember how, but you can limit it so it will like cut the curve here. Then you just take this formula that you come up with here that produces interesting shape when you tweak the parameters, right? And what I did here, I took a formula. Let me find the code which does that. Shape evaluator, that will be it. Yeah, so these are like parameters A, B, C, D. I have a range of values that look good in the Desmos. Is each curve a dimension like XY? It's a 2D thing. I think you can actually do the 3D curves here as well, maybe. I'm not sure. But in my case, it was just a 2D curve. And that's the actual formula. Actually, I could put it in. You know what? Let me put it in. So let's start a new graph. Oh, wait, no. I didn't copy. So yeah, this is the formula I came up with. Y equals something something, and let's see what it gives us. What's wrong with that? Sine x times d. There we go. So now if I tweak this, see, I get something shapy. I get some wavy patterns and they can go up and down. It's not too impressive or anything, but there are some ways to generate some wave, you know, which goes up and down and sometimes gets into interesting shape. So what I do then, I sort of have this evaluator which runs this formula, and it fills it with random variables with ranges that I found to produce interesting shape, which is still like manageable. And then we scale it up, like, and so on, and in the end we produce a like 1/2 of the ship. So if I open up my blackboard, so let's say we get this shape like that, right? Something like this. So what I do, I just, if this is like an X and Y, very straight, I take the like from here to here, and this is my like 1/2 of the ship, right? I then draw the mirror from the bottom and I get something like that. So this is like the generic shape. And then I work with this shape. I will make the outline, so this will be the skin. Then according to that algorithm, I pick some area here to be like the hull. Then I pick some random spots here to be emptied if necessary, and so on. And when we make a bigger version of the ship, it's actually getting more interesting. Yeah, so basically you start with some math equation that produces a nice curve, and then you can start turning this curve into a shape that you can then build and twist and so on. Okay, let's start. Maybe you know what, I could show you a non-rect version. Like there's this random ship. It's gonna look a little bit more interesting. Yeah, so that's the product of that math shape with some like carving in it. So this is like the first step. Then we create some extras here and there. Then we connect, so everything will get connected. And now we see we already have some sort of spaceship base outline. Then we add in engines here and there, create the angles, add outer walls, add inner walls. Inner wall algorithm is really simple. I just pick a random spot and then I like traverse it in one random direction. Sometimes I randomly inject like a change of direction, like here. This is random change of direction. And then I just connect to any wall. And that's it, I have a division like this. Then I see the size of the areas. If they're too big, I still divide them. Then there's a phase which fills the gaps, because sometimes this step does not produce the result I want. It's like producing almost what I want, so I add one more step which like fixes the flaws of the previous step. So this gap fill stage is actually doing this. then we repeat this area division stage 4 more times because the ship is big and we wanted smaller areas, so we do the same algorithm like iteratively to keep dividing the rooms. Then wall compacting removes the double walls, and here we are left with a flaw, so it's not good. Maybe the next stage will fix it. Yeah, there's again wall gap fill stage, so we filled the gap with, we fixed the flaw of the generation with another phase. And then we generate the doors, again just like picking random locations in every room and make sure that each room has connected to another room. So basically like, again, traversal of arrays and like comparing and checking values. If two rooms are not connected, then we like randomly generate a door in the wall between them with some rules, like the door cannot touch the angle, shouldn't be on the edge, and so on, and shouldn't be blocked from both directions. Then we have like vent generation stage, which are almost the same, but it adds these little vents so the oxygen can flow through. Then we have ship objects inside generation stage, which creates some templates that I pre-made and saved. So like these solar panels and these angled corners were made manually, and I just slapped them randomly here and there. So this was the outside objects, and now this is the inside objects, also some templates slapped here and there. These templates are not perfect, I'm gonna make more of them and redo this phase at some point, but basically we like fill the ship with some random shit so it would not look too empty, but it's looking bad because you can obviously see that it's too random and like stasis arrays are repeated too much and so on. Then reactor refuel stage finds all the reactors and fills them up with fuel, because if you just create the reactor it's empty, so we want to start with a ship which has some fuel. So again, another step. Starting area, again, just finds a spot where we could slap in the ship computer and some robots for it. Stasis area against stage will do nothing because we already have some areas. Energy connector generation stage will find all the connectors and create links between them. So we'll create, basically we create a energy grid at this step. Then floor lights, again stage creates these little floor lights. Actually this should happen probably before the energy connection phase. I don't know why it happened after. Oh, that was the connector phase. We generated these connectors. Yeah, so we generated we didn't connect anything. We just generated the connectors that the grid can be created from them. Then we generated the floor lines. Door and blocking generation stage did things like this. Like we removed the chair. There was a chair here, but this was blocking the doorway. So again, this was a flaw in the generation. So we had a step where we like fix the flaw by removing the item that is blocking the passage. Same here. There was a chair here and a chair here. So you get the idea. Next step. Energy grid connection stage. So this is where we actually plug every device to each other, and then it's ready, and we have this grid. It's not perfect, but it's something. So some things are connected together, and like there's a ship which doesn't look too great, but thing is that like if you generate again, like if you generate another ship, you may end up with very, very different shape. So this is why I always target with procedural generation. I like it to produce very different results. So if it produces like always produces very slight variation of same kind, it's boring. But like, see, the last ship was like with protruding areas in the back. This one will be more rounded, I guess. A slightly different shape. So one more thing that you can do is like have multiple algorithms, like radically multiple different algorithms, and then swap them randomly. So you would like maybe skip some stages. Like in my recipe here where I have wrecked empty ship scenario, I have a chance to skip a stage. Like here, there's this connection against stage. There's a 25% chance for the stage to happen. So when you have the modular procgen like this, it's easier to play with these. You can like dynamically select one stage out of 5 maybe. You can skip some steps, you can inject some steps randomly, you can modify the further steps depending on the outcome of the previous steps and so on. So it's like really modular and flexible this way. This is what I suggest to do when you try to do procedural generation. Like first thing, very small steps and very small start. Each step has its own little class. For example, like engine generation stage, it's just like 50 lines of code, which is probably ugly, but it's like simple to understand and simple to examine. Like if you want, you can run the stage alone and see like before and after result. Also, one more tip, always have like visualization of each step. If you mash multiple steps together and you cannot visualize like I just did like here, like stepping through the generation one step at a time and seeing before and after, you're gonna get lost. I had this problem with Bloody Rally Show when I was making random race tracks, and I would just assert or assume something that, okay, that this stage should be doing this and that, and this stage should be doing this and that. And if at least one stage in the chain is not doing what you expect or doing something slightly different, it can like throw off the whole procedural generation completely, and you will end up with crappy result and you will never know why. So you have to always have a way to visualize how the procgen is done. Yeah, so I think that's it. That's the whole walkthrough.